Hello and welcome back to my channel. Once again, the place where I review all my new pickups and talk about all things sneakers and streetwear. Let's get straight into this, as we usually do. So these just landed yesterday, so I wanted to get a review done real quick. Okay, so before I take it out, this is a special edition box. I'll spend a little bit more time than normal going through the box because there's a lot to look at. Get rid of that. Okay, so this is the Patta times Nike Air Max 1 for the 20th year celebration of Patta. And then I'll read off the colorway. So this is Air Max 1 SP Chlorophyll / Chlorophyll. I have gone 11.5, so I take an 11.5 or a 12 usually in Air Max 1s. Well, in most sneakers, I find with Air Max 1s recently that I've taken 11.5, they fit better. So I went 11.5 with this. So as you can see on the box, there is a ton. I'll see if I can wiggle her about a little bit and maybe hopefully the light picks up on some of the reflections, but I think you have like every single logo that Nike has used at some point in the last probably 20 years. So yeah, that's the box. We'll get them out because we didn't come here for a box. Okay, put that down. So here we have the Nike Air Max 1 Chlorophyll. Probably seen quite a few reviews on these. Put this to the side. So again, I won't spend too much time on the colorway, but I did want to touch on some of the materials. So you have the typical anniversary. So I was actually watching a video on these this morning, and the guy was saying that back in 2009, when these originally released, Patta basically used the OG block. So there is your anniversary pack, and then more recently they've done them in the big bubble. Those 1987 colorways, they wanted to do the same thing but just switch out to a new color, and that's what they did here. But then they also threw in the premium touches. So you have a little mini swoosh, and again, I'll try and show these just off to this side and put in some imagery on the other side. So you have the mini swoosh. This is not the felt that they use on the OGs, but it is the denim. And then you have, instead of the cheaper mesh, this is definitely a much nicer mesh. And then they come with a spare pair of green laces. You can see in here that insoles are designed, I'll put a picture up here, they are designed based on a €20 note to signify the 20 years. As Patta, I guess they opened in 2004. You can see on here the tongue tab says Patta, so PA and then TA underneath. And then you have this basically like the grey areas, so the U-throat. The U-throat is done in the denim, and then everything else here is done in like a nubuck or a durabuck, I don't know. Nike Air on the back, and then black white with a small touch of the green on there. So I'm just going to put up a big image of these versus the 2009. I've never owned them. I've seen pictures and heard commentary online to say that this is actually almost a perfect retro. The only difference, as you can see from the image I have up, is the shade of green, where it's a bit more vibrant now, and it was, I think, a bit more deep of a green back in 2009. Cool. So just in terms of like that pair, a lot of Air Max 1 enthusiasts think of that pair as like the holy grail. I've always thought of these as an amazing shoe to have, something I'd love to have in the collection, but there's just no way I was ever going to spend the money on them, especially a 15-year-old shoe that is probably going to need a sole swap, and if it doesn't, you know, that it's going to cost even more. I'll shoot up an image of the last sale in it's either a 12 or an 11.5. I can't remember what I searched now, but is around three grand in US dollar before shipping, before sales tax, before StockX fees. So you're probably, I don't know what that would total, but it's going to be significantly north of 3 grand. I'm just not paying that for an MX1. I do love MX1s. Typically, they're not the best material from a shoe. Having said that, even if the materials are better, I'm still not spending 3 grand on a shoe. So yeah, that's like a bit of the thoughts about the 2009. So that 2009 pair was to commemorate Patta's 5th anniversary, and now obviously, as we've said on here, and on the 20 on here, this is to commemorate their 20th anniversary. So just looking at StockX prices before I made this video for this pair, they've settled around 240, 250. They did drop down as low as 215 at one point. I think it was a few days ago, and they have been as high as 900. Like when they first started making their way onto StockX, I want to say they were $800 or $900. So I feel for anyone who pulled the trigger back then, but yeah, I guess that's their problem for being for not wanting to wait. But yeah, that's the shoe. I'm gonna get into a couple of comparisons, and then we will do ratings and fit of the day to close off. So bear with me 1 second.
A few moments later.
Cool, welcome back. So what I wanted to touch on was the fact that one of the things that this retro has made me think about as a sneaker collector is the fact that Nike has been on this, they've been blazing this trail of retroing grails. Basically what that means is making pairs of shoes that had become unattainable to the average 9-to-5 Joe in the street, and retroing them on an almost one-to-one basis. They do, and I think consciously, make there some difference. I touched on the difference in the green that you saw earlier on the Chlorophyll. I feel like that is very deliberate from Nike, because they're probably pretty close to the really, really upper echelon collectors in terms of like corporate relationships. And having a shoe that is a one-for-one remake will probably piss some collectors off, especially if you've paid 3 grand for a pair of MX1s. So I do feel like they have some part of their strategy is to drive some difference, but I've just pulled out 3 here, which we have as an example, just to kind of make the point. So I'll just go through them left to right. Am I going to go left to right now? I'm going to go through them in order I have my notes on them. So on the left here, we have the Air Max 90 Bacon. So this was originally a 2004 collaboration with Dave's Quality Meats, DQM, as you would have seen it labeled. So this shoe retroed in 2021, widely available, very easy. I got 2 pairs, and I still don't know what to do with the second pair, because I'm not going to need 2 pairs. They were just really, really easy to get. And just looking at my notes, and actually I'll pop an image up here, the last sale on StockX for a DS pair of the 2004s was roughly $840 before shipping, before StockX fees, before sales tax. So you're probably speaking about the best part of $1,000 for a 2004. So a shoe that's even 5 years more old than the Chlorophylls. So we'll definitely have needed a sole swap. I get it if you're a historian, if you own like a sneaker culture library, or I don't know what you would call it, museum even. I get it, but for the regular consumer in the street, you're not paying $1 grand for a shoe you can't even wear. So these are now very readily available. I don't know what the price is on StockX for this 2021, but I think it's around or under retail even. And then that brings us up to 2022, the following year. So this is the Crepe Hemp, originally dropped in 2004. I'll shoot an image up here again of that 2004 pair. The last sale on StockX, I want to say, was a couple of bucks under $1 grand. So it's going to be significantly over $1 grand after all the fees. So again, very expensive. The actual price is kind of like, I guess I'm just making the point that they're all really expensive. Super, super nice touch on the outsole of these as well. And these originally dropped, as I say, in 2004. So that pair would have been 20 years old now. Imagine spending $1 grand on a 20-year-old shoe. And then going back 1 year in terms of when these dropped, so back to 2021, This is the retro of what was the 2006 original release by Nike and Clot, so it's a collaboration, again, called Kiss of Death. And as you can see, it has a see-through toe box. There's a ton of super unique aspects to this shoe. It's so thin here because it's basically just one strip of leather. It's so thin I went with an 11 and they fit me well. And I'm at 11.5 to 12. So it's like half to an entire size down, and they fit me perfectly. They basically fit like a 12, just in case anyone wanted any sizing tips on that. And again, looking at my notes, the last sale on StockX, picking it up here, $640 there or thereabouts. Which again, like it's cheaper than the other two, it's still ridiculously expensive. So yeah, I think for me, now that we have these three and the Chlorophylls, that really kind of starts to build up a bit of a backlog of grails. There are probably a couple more that they've done that I am not remembering now that I'm shooting this because I didn't manage to pick them up or wasn't interested. Sometimes they will do a retro of something that used to be a grail, and for me, if I don't like the look of it, I don't care how much it goes for. I'm just not going to bother buying because there's only a limited amount of space. There's only a limited number of days in the year. It just doesn't make sense to me. So cool. Now that we've had that comparison, I'm going to touch on the prior MX1 collab that Patta did before this Chlorophyll, and we'll just get to that in 1 second.
A few moments later.
Okay, so again, welcome back. So I mentioned the prior collab that Patta and Nike had done on the MX1. So here we have, this is the only pair. This is from the Waves pack. This is the Monarch colorway. It's the only one that I picked up. I also really like the Aquary blue colorway. For some reason, these go in my size in 11.5 at the moment for just over 200. And the colorway that I wanted to add to the collection is 350 plus. It's kind of putting me off picking them up. But I am looking for maybe a mildly used pair. But either way, you can see here, like the shape on these is absolutely beautiful. Actually, that reminds me to mention the shape on the Chlorophyll is okay. It's not amazing. I've never reshaped denim, so I don't know how it would work. I might just leave these because it's not grossly bad, but it's just not as good, and it's also striking when you hold it up alongside these Monarch Waves. So yeah, that is the last collab they did. You can see here it just says Patta on the tongue, whereas this one is spelt out with the P-A-T-A. Not a huge amount similar about these colorways, but you know, I thought I'd show them nevertheless. And then the only other non-collaboration, sorry, I wanted to show was the Jordan 3 Chlorophyll. I think I heard someone say that this colorway was inspired by this, and actually holding them side by side, they look nothing like each other. I mean, they share similar colors. They're both white, gray, and green, but actually from a color blocking perspective, they're worlds apart. They just don't look anything like each other. So I thought that was quite funny. And I didn't realize how dissimilar they looked until I got it out of the box, but hey ho. Cool. So yeah, that's all the comparisons I wanted to do. I do have a pair of Patta Diodoras, the honey mustard, but I think we're good for comparisons right now because we've done a lot already. So just to finish off the video, I will shoot up some on foot imagery now. Should be covering off the screen. So yeah, just the typical forfeits with just, you know, some ideas about how to make these shoes look good. I will likely have relaced them also because, as you can see from this video so far, the lacing is super tight. Cool. So now that we have that out of the way, we just have two things to finish off. I think for me, this is probably going to be my sneaker of the year. Also, sorry, just before we go into that, the comparison of these two side by side, I've been doing some eyeballing. I don't see any quality control issues. I don't see any instances where the paneling looks hugely different from shoe to shoe. Yeah, I feel like it's bang on with the craftsmanship on these, just in case anyone was wondering. I'm going to go 9.5 on this. I know a part of that is, the word is not nostalgia that I'm looking for, because I wasn't collecting Air Max 1s in 2009, so it was not a nostalgia cop, but it is a shoe in the 10 years I have been collecting that I have wanted to own the entire time and just never been able to justify how extremely expensive they've been. So it's one of those like grass is greener, if you excuse the pun, kind of things where you've bigged this thing up and built it up in your head so much that when you finally get it, it's like an explosion of happiness. And like, I don't know how to describe it exactly without making myself sound like a hype beast, but it's certainly hitting that 9.5 for me, although it's a simple colorway because of years and years and years of like waiting for this moment, I guess. So yeah, just put that down. We'll finish up with a fit of the day. So I have on the rookie Jordan 1s, which I want to say are from 2018 or 2019, somewhere around there. The olive or military colored cargo, snap cargo pants from Quality, which is one of my favorite pants. White 021 Essentials t-shirt, fitted, and then San Francisco 49ers snapback. I typically love wearing this with the rookies, just because the color matches are so good. And this year, when they got to the Super Bowl, I actually wore this hat to the Super Bowl party that I went to. They lost, but hey ho, at least I was coordinated. Cool. So yeah, that's it from me. Another video I really enjoyed making. Hopefully you've enjoyed watching it. That's it from me. Over.